Now, while I got you here, I wanted to show another brush. This, well, let's back this up a little bit. Okay. This small brush is a Kolinsky Round Series 2410 size 3/0. This latest and greatest little tiny brush. You see that difference in that? Well, put it somewhere where you could actually see it. See the difference there? That's ridiculous. That is excellent for stablemates, but there is a huge learning curve. Number one, the handle is just stupidly long. And the other thing is, it's very hard to use because you seriously just have a tiny amount of bristles here, and they just don't want to cooperate sometimes. Like right now, there's no paint coming out of them. Sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 little dunks in the paint before I can actually pick up paint where it won't be too much or not enough. Balance my hand on the horse. I've had a whole lot of coffee. My hands are automatically going to shake. And just tap and just tap. And tap and tap and tap. I do not want to paint lines on the horse. People get stuck doing that. What happens is their brain tells them, okay, I need to go in the direction of the hair growth, which means I need to form a line. A line going that way. Oh, there's a line, it's going a line of the hair growth. Well, it's going to be out of scale. Now, on a traditional, it might not be. You can get away with little bitty short lines. You don't have to do this little kind of stippling effect here. But this is not a traditional. And therefore, I have to do my kind of dotting effect here. Basically, when I think of a hair growth pattern, see the angle my brush is at on this horse? My brush is angled the direction of the hair growth. So, when my little tiny spots go on the horse, they got no other choice but to go that direction. If I'm sitting here doing this, my hairs, my little dots are going to be in a vertical direction. That is not going to be right. So I want to just angle my brush in the direction of the hair growth. And kind of show you a little difference. Okay. Right here in this flank is going to angle up. So I'm going to tap that brush in an upward motion. Again, direction of the hair growth. And over here it's going to change directions. So I'll tap it that other way. That way you're going to have a dot with a tiny bit of drag to it. And that's going to give you your direction. And when you look at it, it might just look like dots, and it might not look like it has a direction to it. I promise you it will. When you start layering these in, the direction is going to come through. And these horses don't look right, these first few layers. In all honesty, I'm going to start, with this dark gray mix here. I'm going to do all my Roaning in the dark gray mix. And then what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to look for areas on the horse that are brighter. The mane spots, maybe a lot of conglomerated hairs that are all joined in. I'm going to look for those lighter spots, and then I'll go over that area with my slightly lighter mix. And what I'll do is each time I'm going to finish a whole side, finish just one layer, kind of block it in. And then when I go back to the horse with my brush, I'm going to take that gray mix I made. I'm going to add just a little bit more white to it. Maybe a little bit more buff. It depends. That will warm it up, so you don't want it to go too warm. It's okay on a warm-toned horse like a bay or a chestnut. On a blackie, you might want to stick more on the gray side than add too much buff. And every time I do a layer, I'm going to go just a little lighter and a little lighter. And then that last layer of white is going to go on the Sabino markings where it's solid on my reference photo. And again, I'm just demonstrating this. I'm going to erase the majority of this because I'm not actually following my reference photo. I'm just trying to give you enough footage to see how the brush is tapped on. I use both brushes the same way. It's just a little bit more wiggly with the Series 2410 because it just sometimes it doesn't pick up a lot of paint. This brush it's called a reservoir because what it does, it holds paint up here close to the ferrule. And then as you paint, it slowly sends paint down. So basically it just holds your paint for you, and you can work quite a while before you run out. And with that other brush you saw, it does not have that sort of thing going on. It's not really fat up here towards the top, you know. So it's not going to hold paint. It's going to stick it right down there in the tip. So you might get, I don't know, 4 or 5 hairs painted on before you actually have to go back and get more paint. But if you're doing a stablemate scale, it's really, really super nice because I really think you can get it in scale with that brush. I'm still not going for, like, you know, individual hairs. I want kind of clusters of hairs. But it still does a really, really good job. And see, there's no magic in this. I'm not doing anything special here. I'm just taking my time. Pays to have a good pair of eyes. But I'll go in with this lighter mix again, just to show. Let's say I was going to have a little bit more splotch of Sabino right through there. Oh, that's a good little splotch there. And we'll add a little bit more white in here. And do a little bit more here. Let's just say we had a little cluster of hairs right there. Again, layers, layers. Now, hopefully you can see. I know that's super duper close for my camera and it doesn't really like to focus close up. But hopefully you can see how tiny the hairs are and what that layering does. See, it gives you a nice little gray kind of round out thing. And like I said, we still haven't gone with straight white yet. So when you do that, it's going to pop it out just even a little bit more. This is how I do my Sabinos, my Rabicanos, my Roans is pretty much the same. Now it does take some layering. It does take a lot of patience. It takes a really small brush. You don't have to use exactly the brushes I use. But I'm telling you, I will never be without them for my detail work because I really, really do like them. They do take a little bit of getting used to. But once you get used to them, you can do a lot of great things. Practice on paper. Get some black paint. Toss your paint out. Practice. Try. If you add too much water to your paint, or there's too much water in the brush, it's gonna bleed. You're gonna put that little line down. It's gonna just kind of the paint's gonna fan out and kind of bleed. That's why I wipe it either on my arm, shirt, pants, whatever. I just wipe it across. And what that does is it pulls the moisture out, but you still have a little bit of paint pigment on the brush. So once you get the right amount of water out of there, you can create your tight little lines that don't bleed. But you still have to thin it right. If you go into it and your paint is too thick, it's going to leave a blob. Right now, that is as smooth as it can be. There's not a single, I can't feel any of that, can't feel any brush stroke, there's no lumpiness to it. So you still want to thin your paints right, but the goal is to not have too much water in your brush so you can keep a tight line. And if you've got a hair that goes squirrely, just take a Q-tip and wipe it off. You know, use some spit or water or whatever. You can take a paper towel and just wipe the whole thing off. Q-tips let me erase, 1 or 2 hairs at a time. But anyway, hopefully that will be enough footage to show you how I hold the brush, how I thin the paints, mix the paints, and how I apply it to the horse.